Hello and welcome to the B-List Breakdown, your #1 news show that publishes less than once a year with news that will be irrelevant in less than a week. I'm your host, Gabby Riberdy.
And I'm Makayla Virdi. Let's break it down.
In tragic celebrity news, Taylor Swift and Joe Alwyn broke up after 6 years together. According to a source close to Swift, the relationship had run its course. Since the breakup, Joe Alwyn has been spotted with a mysterious new blonde.
It's a big year for gamers in terms of movie adaptations. The Super Mario Bros. Movie, Dungeons & Dragons, Five Nights at Freddy's, Tetris, and the Barbie movie. I, for one, am happy for my gamer friends at this time because I know nothing brings them more joy than rapidly complaining about movie adaptations on Twitter.
In television news, Kim Kardashian was cast in the upcoming season of American Horror Story. So I guess we know what the horror will be. I don't know, I haven't watched the show. But can she act? I guess she was a voice actor in one episode of American Dad where she plays Roger the alien's annoying alien girlfriend who he pushes out of a car. So yeah, I guess she can.
In news that makes me feel old, 19-year-old Millie Bobby Brown just got engaged to 20-year-old Jake Bon Jovi, son of John Bon Jovi. So 30 years and up, the clock is ticking. A new trailer for the Barbie movie that just came out revealed which Barbies the star-studded cast will be playing. Two of these roles are band Barbies. Midge, played by Emerald Fennell, is a Barbie who got pregnant out of wedlock. Michael Cera plays Alan, a bisexual menace who fathered Midge's baby and canonically fits into all of Ken's clothes. That's it for this week in B-List. Now I'll throw it back to Gabby with our main story.
Thanks, Makayla. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the internet phenomenon known as object shows. For those who don't know, an object show is an animated web series where objects with faces participate in a series of challenges and are voted out either by the viewers or by their fellow objects. Basically, it's Total Drama Island, but with sentient objects that are all voiced by tween boys. The term object show was coined by the first object show creators, twin brothers Carrie and Michael Huang. The brothers released their first episode of Battle for Dream Island on January 1st, 2010, when they were only 12 years old. For the following 2 years, they released a new episode on the 1st of every month. They're still making new episodes today, and are currently on the 5th season. While not many people outside of the object show community have ever heard of object shows, the first episode of Battle for Dream Island has over 65 million views. For context, Charlie the Unicorn has only 40 million views and is much more widely known. The most recent episode, which was released about 2 weeks ago at the time of filming, has 1.7 million views. For context on this number, Keith Eats Everything at IKEA was also released 2 weeks ago and has 1.9 million views. And as we found out a few months ago, a lot of people know about the Try Guys. But there's even more than just BFDI. Since the Huang brothers encouraged their fans to make their own objects, they had the assets that they use for BFDI publicly available online for others to use. You might be thinking, why would they think anyone would do that? But this resulted in the creation of many more object shows than just BFDI. While object shows definitely would not exist without BFDI, the object show community probably would not exist without Inanimate Insanity. Using the BFDI assets, Adam Katz released the first episode of Inanimate Insanity on April 1st, 2011, before season 1 of BFDI was even over. Inanimate Insanity follows a similar structure of the Total Drama Island competition concept. Some key differences are that Inanimate Insanity uses more explicit language and it has more voice actors, even featuring Katz's father as the voice of the host. I guess the question is, what was so gripping about BFDI that Katz went out and made his own version? Would anyone else feel the same way? It turns out they did. Today, the object show genre has expanded past strictly competition-based shows, although they represent the majority. There are now hundreds of unique object shows, including slice-of-life shows, action-adventure, and even a graphically gory and explicit show called Object Terror. So I guess what we're trying to understand is how this one show had so much reach that it spawned hundreds of shows that developed beyond the original formula. To investigate this phenomenon and to see if any of the 1.7 million current viewers are on campus, our field correspondent Katy took to the streets to see if the people recognized the objects. Maybe the demographics of object show viewers don't intersect with Northeastern students as much as we would have hoped. Another interesting facet of object shows is the object show community, which is how the fans refer to themselves. Here to discuss how the fans of a cartoon about objects with faces competing in little challenges could possibly be toxic and horrifying is my roommate Sarah, who watched all of BFDI with us.
Hi, Gabby. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming. So I'm told you have some choice internet posts that you'd like to read to illustrate the inner workings of the object show community?
Boy, do I. So the first thing I want to share is a Tumblr post, which was the thing that sent me down the rabbit hole to figure out what object shows are, which I then shared with you. So this post comes from Beetle Drink on Tumblr from 2019. No joke, I really love discovering a fandom for some weird show or internet thing I've never heard of in my life, and then promptly discovering that said fandom is batshit and full of the most vicious, hateful infighting possible. Especially when the media at hand is completely shallow, nonsense projects by random nobodies, and there are people on Tumblr willing to kill and die for their headcanons. This happens to me like twice a week. And then there's a photo of all the objects from BFDI. And then it says, what if I told you with my hand on a stack of Bibles that in the dark underbelly of Tumblr there are people fighting to the death about these things' sexualities? So I immediately had to know more, so I looked at the comments. And the first comment that I saw was, you ever insult the cultural impact and emotional richness of BFDI and the twins again, I will throw rocks at you. The next comment I saw was, oh no, the people who like making fun of people who have simple interests, don't get me wrong, I have seen some horrible things, are trying to bash BFB. Seriously, the fandom is a ton of kids who like a show. Sure, there's some weird people out there who draw really weird things, but that doesn't make the entire fandom bad. It's a really good show and it can be comforting to people. Anyway, stand Floby. I'm writing this at 1 a.m. I don't know what I'm saying. So then I began to investigate. And after we watched BFDI, I then went on the BFDI subreddit. And people are really invested in BFDI. So here's a post that says, since Barf Bag isn't loved enough, this is going to be an official Barf Bag appreciation post. Comment down everything you like about the bag of puke herself. I didn't know there was a character called Barf Bag. She must have been introduced in a later season. But one of the comments on here says, I like her voice. Some people dislike her design, but I like it. Sometimes I kind of wish I could like Barf Bag more, but there are things about her that bother me. And then the OP of this post, Expensive Young 2310 says like, and the commenter, I can't pronounce that name, says, it bothers me how when Spongy apologizes in BFB 14, she does not take him seriously and does not forgive him. It is hard to say whether or not Spongy was being genuine, and I am not saying she must stay in the friendship, but it would have been nice if she had at least ended the friendship on good terms. I know that just because a character does one bad thing does not necessarily mean that they are a bad character, but with Barf Bag, it seems different. Like, what she did is not presented as wrong, and while it does reveal more about her character, it comes across as rather insignificant, something not meant to be a too important part of her character, but it still bothers me. And then a follow-up comment that, wow, I went through the transcripts of BFB 12 through 16, and it looks like the scene I had in mind is non-existent. This has a likely chance of impacting my opinion on Barf Bag, perhaps for the better. I do not think I will be able to form a conclusion right away. I need to take more time to consider things, and it will probably help for me to rewatch BFB 12 through 16 to understand the whole situation better. I don't see this level of discussion on, like, Game of Thrones subreddits. So that's really interesting. I have another comment.
I gotta say, before you start reading your next one, I thought like maybe like the discourse about the barf bag was that it was a bag of barf and that was gross.
It is gross.
I didn't think that like the reason people might not like barf bag is because like she's not like a great friend.
Yeah, I don't like Barf Bag either. I haven't seen whatever season she's in, but I don't like her because I don't like barf.
Yeah.
I think that's gross.
Yeah, it seems like the more logical complaint.
This is a comment on a thread asking for unpopular opinions about BFDI. And this says, I just love this comment because none of these words are in the Bible and I don't know what any of it means. Fiery Jr. is an underrated character. I get that he was being rude to Nayli, but he's not wrong. Nayli's puns were getting quite annoying, and I think it's good that somebody addressed it. It also made sense for Fiery Jr. to call Marker an idiot, since it would be a bit confusing if you didn't know that making a hand gesture would bring 4 back. Overall, most of the things he said and done are quite funny. He also has a lot of his teammates' backs, like Bomby and Spongy. And then a comment below that, agreed. That was from Fluffy Design 8226. And finally, one more thing I would like to share. Oh, 2 more things I would like to share. The first thing is when I was scrolling through the Object Show community tag on Tumblr, I saw a video, which I did not watch because I feel like watching it might ruin the magic, but the thumbnail says, "Pick my surgery." It's a guy, he looks like an adult, and the title of the video is, "I let the Object Show community pick my surgery."
What does that mean?
Well, the 2 examples given in the thumbnail are life-saving bypass and chest enhancement. And then there's some objects also there. So that's great. I wonder what that's about. And then the last thing I want to share is from a post on the BFDI subreddit from a deleted account. And it's a 7-year-old Object Show fan starter pack, which is already disturbing because I didn't know 7-year-olds could like go on the internet. That's kind of scary. But it says that 7-year-old Object Show fans always has some weird ass slash 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 fetish or something.
Well, on that note, thanks for coming in, Sarah.
Thanks for having me, Gabby.
That was horrifying.
I'm disturbed.
Okay.
I'll see you at home.
Yeah, great stuff. I think we've learned a lot here today, and also definitely not enough to understand object shows. I think if I had to say something definitive, I would say that a lot of creative kids saw other creative kids making something that was cool and seemed achievable, and then they decided to make the exact same thing several hundred times over, or maybe that's not the conclusion. Who knows?
Thanks for watching this episode of the B-List Breakdown. Goodbye forever.
All the points are gone, we are free of them now, but we look on to the moment that we see the next slice of cake, a step closer to the prize brought on by Cake and Steak.